A new exhibition opens today at the City of Science and Industry in Paris. It is called Frontier, and it focuses on borders, concrete walls, military checkpoints, surveillance algorithms. Borders have 1,000 faces, and none of them are truly alike. Well, we're going to talk more about this now for this Entre Nous with the woman who helped create the show, museographer Delphine Heyndrickx. Delphine, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us, first of all, a bit more about the idea for the show. Why Frontier? Where did this come from?
Well, à la Cité des Sciences et de l'Industrie, as a public institution, it's true that we aim to always stay connected to current issues going on in the world and subjects that concerns citizenship. So the subject and the concept of borders seemed like the right angle to fulfill this mission. It was also the opportunity to highlight a field of science often overlooked in museums of science in general, and that is geography.
No, it's true. We don't think of geography that much. Maybe perhaps also many people think of borders as just being lines drawn on a map, but in reality they represent much more than that, and that's something you're trying to portray at this show as well. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, borders are extremely important in the sense that they have a considerable impact on societies. They completely affect our daily life. Borders can separate, but they can also be great places of general resources, ideal places for trades, taking advantage of differences between the regions that they divide. Borders, they can protect. Sometimes crossing a border can be an act of survival. It can be also extremely filtering, sometimes letting people go through while stopping others. It really is a subject that concerns everybody, whether it's people traveling, people migrating, but also people living by, the circulation of goods. So it was really the opportunity to address that.
All right, let's talk about some different kinds of borders. Let's start with land borders. How are most land borders created? Are they always via natural ways?
Well, you're addressing a central message of the exhibition. From a scientific point of view, we can't say that borders are natural. Borders are really political constructs. They are the results of agreements. They are the products often of power relationships. And they are designed, they're made to evolve, to move depending on the political context and the evolution of history.
And there are concrete examples of borders, for example, in your show. Your show actually opens with the very dramatic border. We talk a lot about this in the news between Mexico and the United States. Why did you decide to start with that one?
Well, it's true that a strong stance of the exhibition was to not present the theme and the subject of border through themes, but really through real-world examples of a border. The border between Mexico and the United States of America is just extremely emblematic. It's also very expected, and we try to have a balance between expected borders and unexpected borders. It's the most legally crossed border of the world. It's also a place of extremely dense and rich activity, while also both the zones from across the borders have merged into a rich cultural zone with languages in osmosis. So it was a great introduction for the exhibition, and we offer to our visitors a movie installation presenting the work of the French author Sylvain Prudhomme, who hitchhiked across the border from west to east and is telling about the paradox of this border through his several encounterings.
The show also talks about invisible borders. Give us an example of an invisible border.
Well, it's true that we present expected borders and less expected borders, and sometimes borders are where we don't think that they are. Sometimes they are invisible. What was really interesting in the exhibition and that we present is cyberspace. Cyberspace is the virtual place where the information circulates, and we often think it's completely borderless. In fact, it is not. It's far from being borderless. Borders in cyberspace, they rely first on physical path, whether it's from terrestrial or submarine cables that can sometimes be cut, they can be damaged, but it also relies on logical paths, which means that depending where you live, the government can control the access, they can authorize, but it also can deny the access to information, and in extreme cases, you can find yourself in a position where you don't have access to information at all.
Just to wrap up, Delphine, what for you is the most surprising or most interesting border in the exhibit?
Well, I think it's more of a collection. It's a transversal element that we present to the public. It's a collection of strange borders presented in shapes of little miniatures that were created by artists, where you really discover how sometimes the drawing of borders can be absolutely absurd, sometimes random, sometimes poetic. We feature, for example, a miniature presenting the famous Île des Faisans between the French and the Spanish border, which belongs 6 months of the year to France, and the rest of the year belongs to Spain.
Thank you so much for that, Delphine Heyndrickx. The exhibition is called Frontière in French, and it's on for a few years yet.
For 2 years until January 2nd, 2028.
Plenty of time to see it. Thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us all about it. Delphine Heyndrickx in Entre Nous. And remember, if you want to get a closer look at any other Entre Nous segments, you can always check out our website at france24.com.